Welcome everybody to Tammy Tuesday, the podcast of life, love, and purpose. We're happy that you're here today. I have an amazing guest to share with you. I'm excited to introduce you to her, Bianca Jade. She is an intuitive consultant and life coach, if you will, and professional. Well, how would you describe yourself, Bianca? First of all, thank you so much for being here. I'm thrilled that you're here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Personal development coach.
Yes.
I work with intuition. Sometimes mediumship comes into my work, but mainly I'm focusing on goals.
Goals. Very nice. So give us a little bit of background on how you got into this, because everybody always has an interesting story, especially when you talk about intuition and mediumship, because those are gifts that don't always come naturally to people. So talk about that a little bit. How did you sort of discover how you work in these ways and how you've realized that this is a purpose for you to help others with it?
Okay. So I don't think I've ever known anything else. Just from little on up, that was the way that information came to me. And then it just progressed over, my life.
Yeah.
I did go to massage therapy school. That was how I got in tune with people's bodies and started to realize that I was picking up information off of their bodies when I was working on them.
Go back to when you were little. Tell me what that was like and how you received that. Because a lot of times when children are young, of course, that's when the veil is the thinnest and we do receive more information that people, I think, are aware of. Was your family and your parents, and were they open to that? Was it something you could share, or was it something you kept to yourself? What did that look like?
Definitely, I was a sharer. So I shared with my family. I'm not sure that they understood exactly what I was sharing with them. But as a little girl, I would, see things form up in front of me and receive information and just know things. It was very difficult for someone to tell me a non-truth because I would intuitively pick up on that energy and know that.
Wow. Yeah. So then this was just from day one, from the get-go. So when you say you would see things, what kind of things would you see when you were young? What did that look like for you there?
It looked like people. Looked like people. And I, being a little girl, you just don't know really how to entertain that exactly. And I remember being about 7 and we were moving homes and I was just getting very overwhelmed with all of that information. So it was a conscious 7-year-old decision to turn it off. Yep. I was like, you know what? I'm a little girl. I want to play and we're moving and this is too much for me right now.
Wow.
So it really didn't turn back on until I was more into my late teenage years.
So yeah, that's pretty common, I think, because children are either afraid or they're not heard and they want to share it and it gets shut down by outside family or people that are around them because they're not sure what it is or don't understand it.
Quite frankly, it just felt strange. To
even talk about it. Yes, because people say, what are you talking about, right? Yeah. So it's confusing. And as a child, you want to just be accepted and feel normal.
And play.
And be a child. And have a normal childhood and play just naturally.
Kind of come and do earth things.
Exactly. Yeah. So age 7, that's interesting. So as this was happening, and you would see, so you obviously through mediumship, you still see, I assume you still see spirit, you still see people come through.
I don't see them as much as I did when I was a child, but it's more of a feeling. It's more of just an open channel now. I don't need to see things in order to know that it's happening.
Right.
But like I said, that's more of a compliment to my work now. I don't lead with mediumship. I don't enjoy that part of the work as deeply as I did when I started my business. Now it's more working with mainly women and working on their standard and their self-worth and creating that standard for themselves so that they know what they want to experience in their life. What I've, learned is that most people don't know themselves very well. And so they don't know what they stand for. So they end up falling for all kinds of things and using energies that aren't in their highest good.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's so common, especially with women. We tend to put ourselves last.
Yeah.
So that's very common. So as you started to move into, well, you said that you shut things down. And I'm not going to go too far into mediumship because that's not what you're practicing today, but it is part of your story. So as a child that was happening and you decided, I'm just going to be a kid now.
Yes.
So you sort of shut it down. Very understandable and very common. I think more common than not, honestly. And so
I kind of like my authority at 7 too.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not doing this.
that's actually, I really love that you just said that because that's really true. I think a lot of people don't realize, even especially as children, how much power we really have with the choices that we make and how we handle the things that come at us, whether it's energetically or physically in the human realm, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool that you made that decision. So then you said when you were in your teenage years, you started to sort of let things back in. How did that happen?
I did. So I was going to go to college in Georgia, the college in Savannah of Art and Design.
Okay.
And I was all set to go. And my dad was like, hey, honey, we got to send the check in. It's time to send the money in. And I said, you know what, Dad, don't send it. Now, this is after we've already, gone for the interview, did my whole portfolio review, got accepted. And, he's very curious as to why I'm not going now.
Wait, so you were studying art?
I was.
What were you studying?
Honors art, honors English, just really into anything creative.
Okay. Was it writing? Was it actual painting? Was it
writing, poetry, short stories?
Oh, got it. Okay.
Anything that I could do that was creative, I was interested in. Still am.
Okay. Wow.
Yes,
That's cool.
Very passionate about that still. And so anyway, I explained to him that I had a premonition or, had seen something that had shown me that I was going to get married young and that I was going to have children young and that I did not want to pay back $100,000.
Wise.
Yeah. So he said, okay, well, I honor your decision. He was actually really supportive of me. And he said, well, figure something else out then. And so that's when I went I'm from back east, from Pennsylvania, and I went to Lancaster School of Massage Therapy and started sort of my journey there with a really cool group of people.
Wow.
Yeah.
So talk about that. What was that journey like? How did that happen there?
I would be working on bodies, massaging them, touching them, and picking up on their energies. I remember working on one woman who was expecting and just immediately knowing like what that baby was going to be, what the personality was going to be like,
Wow.
and asking her permission if I could share after. We were encouraged to share with each other and allow that intuitive part to come through.
So that was part of the program you were in?
It was.
That's
it was an
wonderful.
awesome program.
Yeah. What was the school?
Lancaster School of Art.
Okay.
Or, I'm sorry, massage therapy. I don't know if it still exists or not.
Yeah.
I haven't been home in a long time.
That's amazing. So, okay, in that example, when it started to happen and you were with this woman who was expecting, how did that unfold? Because everybody has different clairsenses. So how does it come to you? Would it be, could you hear it? Was it a knowing? How did you experience those understandings?
So my greatest gift is that claircognizant where it just immediately comes in, kind of cuts through everything. And it's just
Kind of a knowing.
It's just a knowing. And it was just there. I mean, I do see colors. I see auras sometimes, depending on situations. I'll hear messages, the clairaudience. So I kind of can experience all of them, but my greatest gift is that claircognizance. And I like it because it's just immediately there.
Right.
I don't have to figure it out necessarily. Now, sometimes the knowing you do have to ask some questions and you're like, well, I'm kind of picking up on this. What does this even mean to you?
Right. Yeah.
I don't know them.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I can definitely relate to that because that's definitely how I receive a lot of information. Yeah. It's just something I just immediately
so easy, right?
know. Well, you just look at and it's funny. I didn't realize this in my own life that I was doing this my whole life until obviously I started to go down my spiritual journey and understand things more deeply. But you'd be sitting with somebody and all of a sudden you would just say, even whether they were saying it with their body language or their words or their actions, whatever was happening, it was like you just knew. You just knew what was happening. You knew what was going on. And it was just this instant, okay, I understand this situation. You knew how to read somebody. You knew what they were going through. You just had this deeper understanding, which is great because it also gives you gifts of empathy and understanding of where somebody's coming from so you can approach them in the most appropriate way for them and yourself. So it's just a really, really powerful tool.
I agree.
Yeah. It's very lucky that I feel very blessed to be able to have that experience as well. So as you started to go through massage therapy and we're having these experiences, which is really cool that they implemented the intuitive piece to it. Because a lot of those types of schools, at least from my understanding, I never went through a place like that. They didn't always do that.
Yeah.
So that's unique. And it sounds like you found the right place.
I definitely found the right place. And
Was
we did
that-
a lot of exercises, a lot of intuitive exercises. I remember being back to back with, a partner, and we had to feel into the emotions of the other person and that they would be emitting, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then I would share with them what I was picking up on, and then they would share with me what they picked up from me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
you
it
were
was
you were honing in those gifts because you were practicing them.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it does take some practice to
For sure.
decipher what
Picking
that
up.
language means.
Yeah, for sure.
And how to decipher it.
So you did the massage therapy, and did you actually become a masseuse? Did you practice that for a time?
I did become a therapist for a period of time, and I did meet, a love early on. And
So you were right on the vision.
I was right on the vision. And my children came when I was 23 and 27. So it was really spot on. And I practiced massage therapy throughout, those 10 years when I was at home raising them, which was really nice. I could practice when I wanted to. I could take clients when I wanted to. I was very blessed and privileged in that way.
Oh, that's nice. So you said that you're from back east. When did you move to Arizona? What brought you to Arizona?
So after I had my son, I was 27 and I was diagnosed with colon cancer.
Oh my gosh.
So it was sort of like just kind of like a spiritual move, time to grow in a different way and kind of come out of the small town, little suppressive small town that I had grown up in. It was a lovely place to grow up, but I needed more. It was time for me to grow. So with the cancer process, I did have a resection. I had the tumor the size of a plum in my rectosigmoid colon, which was pretty much almost a total obstruction.
Wow.
So I did have to have a pretty immediate surgery. I would say they found it, they diagnosed it. I met with the surgeon and had surgery within a week and weaned my son from nursing. Like, it was a very emotional experience for me.
I can imagine. Wow.
And being young and not knowing, it's kind of like, how could this happen to me? How could I, it's kind of a little arrogant too. Like, how could I grow something this ugly inside of me? Like,
Why me?
I'm a loving, beautiful person. Like, all I do is emit love. And it was a big eye opener for me.
What do you think that's about now that you understand things more deeply?
Well, definitely like the colon, what it represents, that emotional holding, the things that I wasn't facing, the girl next door, always available, people pleasing. I mean, the story of so many.
Yeah.
And that was my body's way of kind of giving me a gift to wake up, to grow, to be able to relate to a big array of people in all ages for the work that I was going to be doing, for a period of time. So, I mean, I'm still in that period of time, but, that may change. I may get a different calling. And when you work for the universe, you have the best boss ever and you just follow.
I love that. The best boss ever. You're so right.
Yeah. If I get that call, I'm going to have to shift. I mean, and everybody in my life knows that that's who I work for and that's my heart and it's nothing personal.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, actually, it's the most personal. It's really choosing you and your connection because...
Yeah, personal, not personal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's
True.
for you. It's really your deepest self.
That is.
I love that you said that because when you talked about... Because I have such a strong belief of when things present themselves, whether they're painful, lessons, disease, whatever they look like for us, especially in these bodies that we have, they're gifts and they're messages. It doesn't mean that they don't come with grief and trouble and strife, but they are truly gifts and they usually represent themselves to teach us something. And the fact that you were able to see that and say, so many people don't realize how specific they are to truly what it is that's trying to come out in you and to address
that
and
metaphysical piece.
Yes, speaking to you and the way it shows up in your body. It's incredible to me how much that happens to people. And the fact that you recognize that, what a gift that you had that's beautiful because so many people don't understand that. And you took it and you said, okay, I hear you. This is a new set of information. It's a new understanding. It's something that I now realize about myself that I need to run with. And I have a new calling now. So what a beautiful gift that you received, like you said, and that you saw it as a gift, because it truly was.
Definitely. And it also taught me how to use my voice, because after the resection took place, I had about 3 months to decide whether or not I was going to take chemotherapy or radiation or both or whatever. And there was a lot of prayer that took place in that time. And I met with several oncologists. They all kind of gave me a different story, to be honest.
Interesting.
My margins were clean.
Okay.
They removed 7 inches from my body, and all my lymph nodes were clean. So I declined radiation and chemotherapy. And that was something that the oncologist did not like.
What about your family?
They didn't like that either. They were very scared for me, and they love me. They wanted me to be in that conventional world, but I am an unconventional girl. So, saying to the oncologist, thank you. I know you saved lives, but I've prayed to the master of my universe, and it's a solid no. And to be able to articulate that and then move with that,
It's brave.
that was something that was life-changing and so empowering that it's just my sovereignty. It has created this sovereignty inside of me.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's a huge message for people. And I want to reiterate that a little bit, because we all have to do what's right for us.
Yeah, we do. And I was okay either way. Like I had to get to that piece where, that was what I was being told. And whether it went more life or that was going to take me home, I was okay with it.
Right.
So
you knew. You
knew.
just knew what was the right thing,
I did.
regardless of the result.
That's correct.
Yeah. So that's so powerful. That is truly standing in your own sovereignty. I love that, because it is sovereignty. You know it. You understand it. You know what's best for you. And you did. You reached out to yourself, your higher self, your own connection with, like you said, the universe. And you received a message and you listened to it. That's the hardest part. You actually listen to it, even though you have a lot of outside noise from people that love you and have
very much
your best interest in their hearts. And you still said, that's just not the route for me.
It's true. I've learned through the years now that sovereignty is kind of layered. Yes, I've had sovereignty in that area, in that moment, but then there was these other areas that I was journeying through, with family and old patterns and standing up for myself in family situations. That's kind of come out of nowhere. And so it's layered, and I feel that each layer just adds a little bit more of that sovereignty, and you just become happier and more at peace and more settled the more and more you move through those layers.
Right. Well, and you practice it.
I do practice.
Yeah.
I am a disciplined person as well. Meditation is huge for me, being present every morning and having that conversation, that in and up and having that conversation. I'm an advocate of journaling. I like to write things down, get them on paper so that I am very responsible for what I'm putting out there, and that I can remember what I'm actually praying and asking for and what I'm developing. I like check marks. I like to go in and be like, yes, I did that. Yes, that message came through. Yes, I was able to connect with this person that took me here, that got me into the project that I was building. So,
well, it's amazing how those gifts show up for you when you say yes and when you do those things, and you have a practice, a constant practice that does take discipline.
It does, but it's part of my life and it's fun and I enjoy it. And I think, if people took time to practice it, they would find the joy in it too, because
absolutely.
It's super rewarding.
Yeah. It's the ultimate.
It's the ultimate.
I mean, I feel like it's the ultimate. I mean, really, when you have that type of connection consistently, it's just gold. I mean, it's the best feeling. It's the most connection to love that you can possibly experience.
Speaking of gold, I use that analogy in my practice. It's like every day that you don't meditate, you're just leaving gold on the table. Don't leave it there. Go, it's yours, and you're not taking away from anybody else, right?
No.
My cookie jar is going to keep filling up.
Right. We all have an abundance of it.
Totally. It's limitless.
It's available to all of us at all times, as much as we need, as much as we want. You touched on something before about your family, because you were talking about sovereignty being in layers. I want to go into that a little bit, because there's so much to our family dynamics and how we come in and how people are walking through their own journeys. and when they watch people they love go through the things that they go through. You talked about your family, and of course they were concerned when you were battling your disease, and you made the choices you made. As you were not just in that part, but even as you were moving through life and discovering this more deeply for yourself, how was that received? Not just with your nuclear family, like your parents. Do you have siblings?
I do. I have a brother.
Okay. So your brother, your parents, and then also your husband. Because as we evolve, at least in my experience, a lot of my awakening has been as I've had children. I have 4 children. After I've had my children with my husband, who I've now been married to almost for 22 years, there's just been an evolvement of things that have happened. And, we're constantly on our path. Like you said, you shift, things change, you see things differently, you walk into a new calling. Things are constantly shifting. As you started to really step into what you felt was your calling, how was that received among the people that you were closest with?
I think interestingly, it was when you're telling someone, I'm intuitive, I'm going to step into coaching, I practice mediumship, there's a lot of kind of stunned looks. And I don't know that I felt super supported in that career choice. I do now that everybody has seen my success in what I've created. But at the time, it was kind of moving through mud a little bit in that way.
That's why I ask. I think that's really common.
Yeah, it was.
And challenging, and holds people back from really stepping into it.
Well, people don't understand it either. So what people don't understand, they're afraid of, and then they're projecting that fear onto you. And so it really took a lot of strength for me to say, no, this is what I'm meant to do. I feel it inside of me. And it was a resounding yes. So I kept going, and it got easier, and people started to then be like, hey, Bianca, or like my mom would call me, or my dad, hey, the dog's going through this. I was wondering if you could tune in and see what's happening. I'm like, oh, okay.
Like, oh, well, they get it now.
Yeah. Or at least they're respecting some aspect of me that's curious.
Right.
And just, that's okay. I learned a long time ago, you just have to accept people for where they are. It doesn't mean that's where you are, but everybody's somewhere. And
exactly.
And wherever that is the place to be.
Right. It's the right place for them.
Right. It's purposeful no matter where you are.
Yeah.
There's so much purpose in every single moment.
Yeah. So in developing your business that you're in now, I want to talk about how that came to you, because obviously you're very much in tune and you're listening and you're asking for guidance and you're stepping into it. And again, it's constantly evolving as it does on our journeys. How did you develop where you are today? What did that look like for you? Because it's clearly purposeful work, soul purpose work.
Yeah.
What did that look like?
It's fun. It's exciting work. It's very rewarding to see somebody find themselves, understand themselves, like themselves, create a standard, finish projects, step into careers, abundance, money, whatever, love, whatever it is they're working on. But mine started with, I was working with a medium in Georgia, long distance, and she was sort of my mentor.
Where in Georgia?
Atlanta.
Okay.
And her name is Jamie. And she and I just formed a really great connection. And I told her that I was really thinking that I would like to expand my spiritual practice into doing intuitive work with others. And she was like, yes, I feel like this would be great for you. So she had invited me to do a reading on her. But before I even could get to the reading with her, I was having dreams, a dream sequence about her. And in the dream sequence, it was all about her finding joy and not taking on too much in life. And I messaged her and let her know what I was picking up in my dream state. And she said, that is exactly what I'm going through. She's like, we do not need to have, a session. She said, I'm going to post you on my website and start to, get you some clients and have you practice. I said, okay. So that's how it initially started.
Okay.
And I would have, clients call me from all over the United States. And it was a huge responsibility. I felt the pressure of relaying information that was being given to me to them.
How'd you handle that pressure?
Carefully, asking, double asking, triple asking if I heard something 3 times. Like there was such a process in the beginning, which I don't have now.
Right.
Now everything is just so fluid.
Flows.
Exactly. But in the beginning, you do have to have these processes and these like ways of being in order to double check yourself so that you feel confident in what you're sharing. Because
Right.
when you tell somebody something about their mom that might be going through something or themselves, you want it to be as accurate as possible.
Right.
So that's how I got started. And I started building a little bit of a clientele. I worked on donation for about a year. And then the word got out and I started to see people in my house. On Saturdays, my family would leave and I would see, a client or 2 on a Saturday. And then it just got to be too many weekends. And so I wrote a prayer or an intentional letter with everything that I wanted in a business and an office and teammates. And I wanted to work alongside of a psychologist. I thought that would be a good fit for me. And I had signed up for a past life regression training program in Sedona and went to the program and just knew that I had written this letter. I knew that something was magical about that letter, blessed it, sealed it, all the things. And when I was there, I met a psychologist. Her name is Dr. Angela Bowers, and she just kind of took a liking to me, instantly. And we got chatting and she asked me what I did and I told her. And she said, you know what, we have a space in our office building. I would love for you to come and check it out. And I said, oh, well, what do you do? And she said, well, I'm a psychologist.
You said, of course you are.
And I just, tears literally instantly just started to come. And I knew, I just knew that was my connection. And I happily worked there for 3 years, I believe, until they were shifting. Their practice was shifting. It was a naturopathic doctor and the psychologist, massage therapist, chiropractor. It was such a cool practice. And then myself, but everybody was shifting in that practice. And so I went out on my own and had my own little office then for a few years. And then now I'm currently in North Scottsdale with an office mate and we share days. I work Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. Sometimes on a Sunday morning, I'll do a meditation. But yeah, I just kind of keep life and work very balanced.
That's amazing.
And I take a lot of time to do all the things that I teach as well. I mean,
that's
my
huge.
fitness and my mental health, diet, prayer, meditation, all of those aspects keep you well-rounded and present.
So you practice what you preach.
I absolutely do.
Yeah, that's so important.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, that's so important. And it resonates because people can feel the difference.
Yes, they can.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they see me out doing it, and happily doing it.
Yeah.
I'm just excited to be here. I have so many beautiful people in my life. And I've met 2 children that I'm in love with and adore.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very blessed.
Yeah, that's amazing. I find it to be so, and there's just a piece about people. I mean, you can I feel it and you can sense it in your voice. You just have a calmness about you, a quiet confidence that's just sovereignty is really the word that comes when you said that. I was like, that's it for her. You really have that. And it's a presence that you really are. You exude it. It's truly who you are. You're very much at peace with where you are, who you are, what you're doing. That is a beautiful gift.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a beautiful gift.
I will take that compliment and wrap it all around me.
Yeah, please do, because it's very true. And it's refreshing to run into people like that. Not just that they can have that for themselves, but they can teach it to others, which is what our world needs so badly right now.
Yeah.
So how do you help? Is it just women you work with or is it anybody?
The majority or primarily are women. I do have a small handful of men that I work with as well. Or if I'm working with a female client and their partner needs some assistance, or boyfriend or something like that, or sometimes teenagers, I'll work with them as well.
Oh, nice.
But primarily women.
Yeah. I think honestly, at least today, I think that it's women are more open to experiencing something different, and men are definitely coming around. I'm feeling a much stronger sense in our world where that's getting to be a bit of a shift, which is really cool to see. But I do feel that it's more natural, I think, for women to explore that. So that makes sense to me.
Yeah, and the men will shift when the women are shifting.
Mm-hmm.
So, we feed off of each other. So when a woman is not using her sacred energy in a like a sexually directed way anymore, and she's demanding to have them get to know her and to feel her worth, it shifts then the male perspective of giving them a pause and like, hey, this feels different to me. I want to explore this in a different way. And it could be very deep, and it allows them to feel safe then in who they are and start to open up and then to share from a different place.
Definitely. It's interesting, a conversation that my son and I had on here recently, which is around young adults. And I'm curious what your take is on this, because it's such a huge thing that's happening in our world right now. There's young adults who are experiencing a desire to connect more. And we live in such a world of technology that keeps us distant. And as we talked about, down instead of up. And in working with, do you work with young people? Because I ask this because I feel that what you just said specifically about women is that they're as soon as they become in their own energetically, they then attract the right thing that's meant for them.
Right.
And that's such a huge tool that not just women, but men as well, just as much need to understand that. So that's a huge thing in my heart, as I want young people to stand in their own and be their best selves and respect themselves and love themselves and understand who and what they are and how powerful, beautiful beings they are, so they can then attract a mate that is on the same page that way. It's an energetic thing. It's a vibration. I just wish there was more of that being taught. I do see a shift in people seeking that out, which makes me happy to see. Again, people being more open to it. Are you seeing that at all in your business?
I do see young adults and their desire to have that connection, and just even figuring out how to have that voice. I know working with my daughter, there was a point where she's like, I don't know how to do that, Mom. Like, how can I ask someone to do that or wait this amount of time to do this with me or that? And I said, well, you're worth it and you'll figure it out. I said, you need to go in and meditate on that. And recently, I would say in the past year, she said the way she's speaking about herself is differently, and the way she's holding, her own energy. And she's like sharing what I've taught her with other people.
Oh,
and
that's cool.
She just gets it now.
Yeah.
It's just locked in there, and she has that confidence. So I think through conversation and empowering the young people, they're so cool.
They're so cool. Gen Zs are really cool.
They're so cool.
I agree.
They're so open. They're
eager to learn.
Accepting of each other.
Yes.
They're so fluid. They just kind of give me goosebumps.
Yes, I know.
So
I have goosebumps now too. I just had this conversation, and it was just so eye-opening, and really understanding that generation, that they are truly eager to connect. There has been such a disconnect for so long in the digital age. They don't know a world without that. So them stepping into understanding how to use that as a tool, and also knowing when it's appropriate and when it's not, to make the real connection. It's beautiful to see. It gets me very excited to see that there's a lot of hope for the future and the generations that are coming, and how they move in this world, and how they can connect with each other. I mean, it makes me really happy to see that. And I'm happy to hear you say that. I feel like the more conversations I'm having about this, specifically what we're talking about now, I'm hearing more and more about it. And I'm having those conversations with my kids that are of that age and their friends. And it just makes me very hopeful for what's coming, because people have struggled, and of course it's all perspective. But there's a lot of shifting happening.
Yeah. That generation too they're so smart.
Oh yeah.
It's like they get things on a different level that took, my generation, it seems like decades or something to learn.
Right.
I don't know. And they just on it.
Well, I think it's funny to that point. I agree with you. And I think it's because, like I said, they've only grown up in a digital world. And so everything is so instantaneous that they understand things more quickly. We had to learn things a little more slowly, and that's just how we've
with
evolved.
Encyclopedias.
Exactly. I rest my case. Yeah. I mean, we were reading encyclopedias. They have the age of the internet. They have ways to get information instantaneously, which some people find as a negative, but it's not. It's actually teaching them how to move quicker and learn and implement and spend their time on the things that they actually love, right? Yeah. So I do, and that was one thing my son and I talked about, was how he said it so perfectly. He said, people of older generations find that social media and, the internet, there's negative connotations to it. He said, but there's a lot of positives to it. And he's absolutely right.
I mean, you can curate it so that you're receiving the content that you want to see every day that inspires you. I know with my feed, it's all about healthy living and, inspirational quotes and, things about moms loving their kids. And I mean, just wonderful things that I wake up to.
Right.
And I love it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny too. Another conversation we had here was about, like you said, curating. It's the same thing with our own manifestation in life. And you know this because you do vision boards and things like that too. And I want to talk about that because that's huge. Manifestation's huge. But I find the same thing. People, if they could realize that, just like in the media world, social media, the more things you look at, they're going to present more of that to you. It's the same thing in your life. The more that you gravitate to, whether it's meditation, prayer, exercise, healthy relationships, whatever the things are that you're after, the more you're practicing those things, the more they present themselves to you in life, in reality. Mm-hmm. Well, that's what we perceive as reality.
Yeah, you're feeding your energy bubble. You're just putting that deposit in there every single day. So if you're, wanting to build even financial abundance, right, in retirement, if you're looking at things that are starting you off with a Roth IRA early, you're feeding and depositing that energy bubble, which is then making you think, okay, well, I got to get this sorted out. I got to get this set up. And it gets you excited and it gets you to that step. Mm-hmm. So you're making those little deposits.
Mm-hmm. Well, it creates an algorithm in your life.
Exactly.
I mean, it creates that algorithm so it keeps presenting itself again and again and more and more, and it makes you step into it more and more.
Yeah, and it's that feedback. Now you're hearing that frequency of that feedback, and it's going and going and going, and it's moving you into that. So the more you can make those deposits in your energy field by watching what you want to create in your reality, the sooner you're going to do that.
Right.
You're going to step into that.
Yeah, because you do that. I've seen... it looks like you do vision boarding and ways to exercise that type of manifestation. Talk about that a little bit. How do you practice that? Because I know you do a lot of things with the people that you work with. What are all the different things? That's one of them. I know you also teach meditation. You also teach and how to implement intuition. How do you do that with people?
I really love working one-on-one with people. That's my favorite. And then I do small groups as well on a Sunday, like the second and fourth Sunday, or the Sundays that I'm usually creating those things when I'm not traveling and creating the life that I want to live outside of work.
Right.
So sometimes I'll do a meditation workshop, or I will do a vision boarding or storyboarding workshop. And essentially that is really bringing those images, just like any other kind of platform like social media, you're bringing those images together and you're intentionalizing them. Mm-hmm. Right. So it's not like they're going to magically happen to you. You have to show up. Right. You have to show up too. But the more you look at it and the more you think about it, journal about it, talk about it, it just keeps, if it's out here, when you start, it just goes click, 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 click. The more you do those things. Right. And then all of a sudden it's just, there it is.
It's your reality.
It's your reality, you know, and there it is.
Yeah.
So, and the more you do that, the faster you get at it. Mm-hmm. And also just working with your own heart energy too. The less impressions that you have on your heart that are kind of corrupting or corroding your heart, the more full your heart energy is, which we know is like an electromagnetic organ of its own that sends out all of these frequencies. So then you're drawing that love into your life too. And you're not just curating in partnership. I mean, it's in everything, in friendship, in the choices that you make at the grocery store, how you spend your money, how you allocate your money, how you are, the traveling that you do, the places that you choose to go to energetically, your environments, everything.
Yeah.
It's all interconnected.
Right. And meditation is a huge piece of what you talk about and what you practice and what you teach.
It is.
So,
And it's a beautiful conversation. I mean, there's all different forms of meditation. You can go in a walking meditation, which I was on this morning, and that's a conversation where I'm listening and also expressing what I'm working on. I do journaling meditations. You can do a deep, transcendental meditation if you want to. There's Vipassana. I mean, there's so many different ways to meditate, even just a kind of day dump where you're letting things go and writing them on a piece of paper, set the timer for 2 minutes and get clean and clear so that you can receive information.
Yeah, day dump. I love that.
Yeah. And it's just kind of go until your brain is empty, write down all the good things. My children are always in that because I'm always thinking about them. So I'll write them on the paper, or you can visualize yourself by a river and just kind of moving that energy into the river of unconditional love and letting it flow down. And so that you can get clean and clear for whatever projects you're working on.
Yeah.
Whether that's a mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, relationship, physical project.
Yeah.
Whatever that is for you.
That's another thing I've said a lot is meditation. Some people that aren't as familiar with meditation, that there's so many different ways to do it. And there's lots of powerful ways to do it, to accomplish different things. Like you were saying, whether you're doing a walking meditation and you're just having your own conversation, or you're writing and you're just releasing it, or you're imagining, like you said, into a river, it's going into your stream of consciousness. I mean, there's lots of ways or you're going to a deep transcendent connection where you're just receiving. There's so many
kind
different
of getting
ways.
into more of that like channeling state.
Exactly.
Right.
There's
That's
so
not for
many ways.
everybody,
No.
and that's okay. It doesn't have to be.
Well, and I think that so many people think of meditation and that's what they think of. And they're like, that's not me. That's not for everybody.
Meditation is even when you're driving down the road in your car and you get to Costco and you're like, how did I get here?
Right. You're on autopilot.
Right. You just went into a form of hypnosis, and that is a subtle form of meditation.
Yeah, exactly.
We've all been there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That seems kind of scary.
I know, isn't it? Yeah. We do. We become a bit robotic when we kind of lose ourselves in things, but it's all good things, and it's ways to reconnect and recalibrate, and like you said, calm and clear.
Or even a restoration meditation. Those are some of my favorite afternoons where I just come home from work. I'll set the timer for 15 or 20 minutes. I'll lay in my bed, and I'm not trying to get anything other than letting sort of the big energy kind of come into my body and restore the energy that I may have used that day. So I call it a restoration meditation. I wake up so refreshed and like energized and reset for the afternoon.
Right. Well, and the last thing I want to touch on, which I've expressed to you in so many words, which is living the life that you want to live. Because even when whatever your work is, your profession, however your means of income, whatever that looks like for you, remembering not to overdo it and designing the life that you want for yourself, because we can.
Yes, we can.
We can, and we can still be resourceful, and we can still be as abundant as possible, even in that. So you don't have to be on the grind. You don't have to be a workaholic. You don't have to work endless hours. You don't have to do any of that. It's still the same effectiveness in your life, and abundance can still show up just as much, even more.
That's very hard for people to grasp.
I know it is. It is hard. How would you, when people say that to you, because I know you've had people come to you when they're ready for a change. What do you tell them when they say that?
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't make sense to me.
I ask them how they see their perfect life. Like, what's their perfect day look like? What does their perfect week look like? And they're like, but I can't have that because I have this, 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 and this. And I'm like, well, I have all of those things, and I live my life in a perfect, balanced way where I work 3 days a week, and I, maintain a beautiful home, my children and a car and go on vacations. And you see, like, it doesn't always, your resources don't always come to you through your career per se.
Right.
So when you're curating your perfect life, outside resources start to feed into what you want your life to look like.
Right.
But most people are very hesitant, or they're not very good at receiving from others.
That's for sure.
So they're not good at those outside resources coming into their flow system. They actually reject them.
They might not even see that they're there.
They may not even see that. And then they continue to live out of that scarcity mindset of, I can't have that because of all this, and this, and this. So it's getting my clients to break out of that and create freedom within their mindset so that they can create the life that they actually want to live, and knowing that the universe is blessing us all over the place from these outside resources if we would just let them flow in.
That's so true. It's funny when you talk about resources, people don't realize that resources does not mean money. It's part of it.
It's part of it.
But there's so many things that come in that you don't even need the money for them to come in, and you yet have them and they've become a resource for you. And it's like you said, we tend to reject because we don't feel worthy, or, there's so many things that we block ourselves from receiving all of these things. And we can live these abundant lives. And it doesn't mean we have millions of dollars in the bank. It means we have everything we want.
Right.
So it's just a perspective shift on what that looks like.
And getting people to know what they like in general, is huge. Most people, when I say, can you write me a list of 100 things you like? They're like, I have no idea. I said, well, that's your homework. Go ahead and work on that and bring it back. Because if you don't know yourself, how are you going to expect somebody else to know you?
That's a huge, important exercise for people. People don't even know what they want.
They have no idea.
If you could have anything you want, you're like, I don't know.
But they're complaining about all the things that they don't have. So it doesn't make any sense.
No, that's actually a really, really good exercise. I encourage people to do that.
Yeah.
Before you say, I miss it, I don't have this, lack. Sit down for a second and write down, what is it that I want? Mm-hmm. Do you know what you want? Yeah. Maybe you should take a close look at that, because you might have some of it.
Definitely.
And you don't even realize it.
Just even when you do your gratitudes in the morning and you're starting your day off like that, and then you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. Like, I'm going to have the best day ever. I already have all of this. Like, this is amazing. And you live into your days differently when you're able to do that practice. And it's so simple, but it's so powerful. It
is. Well, and it comes down to people choosing to discover that for themselves. And that takes being quiet and really
not blaming others.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and just standing in your own right. And it has nothing to do with anything outside of you. Everything you need is already there inside of you. It's just a matter of tapping into it.
Exactly. It's listening to other people's conversations, though. You'll hear them. They're always outside of themselves. They're always talking about somebody else, or what this person isn't doing, or what that person isn't doing. And if they just go in and decide what they want to be doing, then they get to create that.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's not easy. I mean, we're challenged with our human condition, which is a real thing. And that's why we're here. And it's okay to evolve and have days where you struggle with it, because we all do. We are human, and we have these relationships, and we have experiences and events that happen, and we have to navigate them. But at the end of the day, the more you can go in, the quicker those things or they are no longer a problem for you.
Very good point. Creating a support team that works for you too, when you have those moments or days where you maybe just need to talk through something, or you need a little therapy around something, or you need some energy work around something, or even the right naturopath doctor for, that support where you're getting held, on the outside too. That's super healthy to have that, because the more you feel supported there, the more you feel supported.
The easier it is to support yourself.
Internally,
to see it that way. Yeah, because that's really all you need. But it's true. We need help. We need boosters. We need help. We do need help. And we're meant to lean on each other when we're all connected.
Yeah, we are here to have a human experience and be, collaborative.
Exactly. And that's what I love most about this place, is that we get to do that. We get to have this whole experience and remember that we are connected to each other, and that we already have all this. It's just as I call it, remembering together and reconnecting and respecting each other, which means respecting ourselves. Because, like you said, if you don't know what you like or or love yourself, it's impossible for you to do that for anybody else. I mean, it just is.
Right. Yeah.
So
It makes it really easy to have conversations with others too when you know what you'd like to experience. It's very direct and you're not faltering in your own desires and you're simply saying, well, this is how I see my life and what I like. Either you are seeing that as well or not, and that's okay.
self-acceptance.
Yeah, that way you're not, aligning with friends or partners or whatever that aren't right for you.
Yeah. Well, that's another gift too, is when you can actually be true and speak your truth. All of the relationships and people that are meant to be in your life will be there, and the ones that aren't will not be.
That's
they flow. It's very fluid. It becomes very fluid because and the universe knows. It just provides. It's incredible how people come in and out of your life at the times that you need them and when you don't. And I just find that so powerful. I don't know that people realize how much that happens. People come in at certain times and you say, oh gosh, I just met this person. There's no accident there. You brought that in.
You can't miss who you're meant to meet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then when it's no longer necessary for you or them in the path, it's okay to release it. It's all a blessing.
It is. Sometimes they can be pain points when they are exiting, but
For sure. It doesn't mean it's always easy, but
No.
if you see it a certain way, it's all perspective.
it is. It's very purposeful. Every moment is.
Yeah. So I'm so grateful that you were able to join me here today.
Yeah,
What
thank
is
you
the
for
best way
having
for
me.
people to interact with you, learn more about what you do, tap into your resources? You provide such beautiful gifts for the world.
Well, thank you. I have a website, Bianca Jade Consulting. I'm also on Instagram, Bianca Jade Consulting. So both of those ways are probably the best.
Okay.
And shoot me a message or an email and we can connect. And I do
Perfect.
offer a, like a 15-minute complimentary consult that people can book so they can see if I'm a good fit because, I'm not for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's great. It's always important to do a consult so we can see if it's a fit.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank
for
you so
having
much
me.
for being here. You had such a beautiful message, and I'm grateful that you were able to share it with us. It was a pleasure to meet you and get to know
And
you
you.
better. Thank all of you for being here with us today. I hope you enjoyed today's message on Tammy Tuesday, the podcast of Life, Love, and Purpose. Please be sure to subscribe, follow, like all of the things on the platform that you're listening on today. We're grateful for it. It helps people find and discover this message that might need it. Please share it with anybody who you think could use it. And sending you all with lots of love and light. And remember, life, love, and purpose. It all begins with you. Peace out.